For me, it's a game. It's a game. It's, a game of numbers and selling companies and whatever. And I have a lot of really, really big, ambitious goals for sure. But I hope at the end of the day, I'm just as happy living under a bridge somewhere in the middle of the woods, sleeping on the ground with my family that I am living in a mansion too. In this changing environment, you need to learn not just how to push the buttons, but how to think about pushing the buttons. You got to be thinking more strategically about the bigger picture.
Welcome to the Kash and Dash Show with Dallin Cottle.
The funny thing is, Ted had your name accidentally written down because he was in a rush.
No, I was typing it real quick into the script.
Dallin Cottle. That's how he got it. That's how he got it.
Well, I always have to tell people because no one pronounces it right. You guys got it. I always have to tell people it's Alan with a D, Dallin. So Alan with a D.
Oh, that's good. Now, okay. So starting off, one thing jumped out at me during our research here for this episode. True or false, you can still do a standing backflip.
True. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, at some point during the episode, if you feel like it, get up and you can prove this to the YouTube.
I don't know if there's room in here, but yeah.
Okay. I have to ask, how old are you now?
I'm 36.
36, and you can still do a standing backflip. That
standing
is
backflip.
A bold statement. I
just did it a couple days ago. So
wow.
Was it a bet?
It's for the kids, and it's for making sure that I can still do it at 36.
Okay, let's rewind the clock. Why are you able to do a standing backflip? We have kind of the backstory, I think, but I want to hear your side of this.
So I did tumbling when I was a kid. So I was a state gymnast, like a state champion gymnast when I was 8 years old. So I just kind of grew up doing flips and off of tramps and all sorts of acrobatic stuff. And then I was a mascot in high school. So that's just kind of just kind of stuck around. And then maybe we'll get to it, but I would do it. I served a Mormon mission. I'm not Mormon anymore, but I would knock on a door or whatever, and people would answer to be like, hey, well, if I can do a backflip right here in my suit and tie, will you listen to me for 5 minutes, And then they'd be like, no way you can do that. So then, so I use it as all sorts of, tricks and stuff.
Tumbling as a lead funnel. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Where did you have a mission trip at?
I went to Wisconsin.
Oh, you didn't have to go out of the country, huh?
Nope. I just got to speak English. It was amazing.
There's so many people we've interviewed over the years that have was Pace Morby. Was he down in Brazil or something?
Yeah. Somewhere I think in south of the border.
And there was a handful we've interviewed people interviewing. They had some crazy stories of being outside the country. And just being treated like crap.
Yeah. When I opened up what they call your mission call, I looked at it and I was like, really? I was pretty disappointed. I got friends in Spain and Mexico and Africa and Fiji and all over the world. And I'm like, Wisconsin. All right. Where is that? Where is Wisconsin? Is what I thought.
I saw it was a clip on social media a little while ago that had a heat map of the highest rates of binge drinking in the United States, and Wisconsin lit up like a red Christmas tree. But you were Mormon at the time, so you didn't really get to enjoy the.
No, I didn't even. My first invitation to drink alcohol was on my mission. So growing up in Utah, didn't really come up. So
okay, so sticking with the vein of first experiences here, do I have this right? There's no way this is true. How old were you when you said your first swear word?
I was 30 or 31, somewhere around there. Yeah, it was not that long ago. Yep.
Can you explain how did that happen? I mean, even when you stub your toe, all bad things happen.
Nothing. No, wow. It was just a discipline thing. Growing up, Mormon, it's kind of frowned upon to curse, drink, smoke, all this stuff, right? And so I just kind of built up a discipline. I'm like, hey, that's just not going to be me. And so I just said it where I was like, it's just not what comes out of my mouth. And so, my whole life I honestly, just trying to be perfect is really what it was all about, right? It's just trying to be perfect all the time in every single way. And that's what led me to kind of a breaking point, to be honest. Like, it got to this point where I was like, man, I'm just tired of being perfect. Like, perfect, like no one's perfect, but in that kind of view, I never swore, read the Bible, read my scriptures every single day since I was 12 years old, didn't skip a day, like very regimented, like in every sort of way. Right. And I just kind of got to this breaking point. And so I decided that, I'm going to say my first swear word. And so, can you curse on this show?
Oh yeah. That was my next question. You have to know what it was.
Yeah. So I went out, we were at an office up in Holiday here in Utah with the whole team, our social media team. And I was like, hey, I'm going to do it today. I was actually so nervous because obviously I'd never done this before. So I got my phone, I went live on Instagram and I was like, what's up guys? Like, I just wanted to share some thoughts today. I'm tired of trying to live this perfect life or pretend like I'm living a perfect life. And so I said, perfectionism. It. And so I went for it. I went all the way, it's not like I just, said jackass or something. So it was just, I went right for the F word, went for it and decided that from here on out, I'm not going to let perfectionism stop me from, actually getting somewhere. We all mess up. We all make mistakes. We all, we learn from those failures. We learn from the mistakes. And so it was just part of my evolution and my journey of just like, man, I got to face the music that no one's going to be perfect. And if you're trying, like, there's just so much pent up anxiety and things that come from that.
Did your family members all give you sad emojis on that post?
Yeah. No, it's actually interesting because I feel like it resonated with so many people in my family and in the culture because it's so predominant. Everybody's like trying to check all the boxes and try to be this certain person. And I think it was like relieving because so many people looked up to me as like, oh my gosh, like, does he ever make a mistake? Right? Can he ever do something wrong? It just seems like he's never swore, he's never done this, never did that. And so yeah, it kind of actually really resonated with people. So now I'm a degenerate.
Dylan's a drunken sailor. He's drinking. He's cussing. He's smoking now. His whole world.
That's right, man.
Wow. Okay. I want to put a bow on the mascot thing. What was the mascot? Is it a bee?
It was a bee. Yep. Box solar bees.
So were you like a big bumblebee?
So they hadn't had a mascot for about, it had been probably like 5-7 years. And so I said, hey, I want to be the mascot. And they went into this like old, like locker, like storage, and they pulled out this like nasty looking, like basically tarp of a bee. And I said, that's not going to be, that's not it. And so I did some research and I found somebody who had done a bunch of costume design for like the theater, like department or whatever at the high school, and got her involved and designed. At the time in high school, I was doing bodybuilding and stuff. And so I was like, let's just make this the most muscular, like badass bee on the planet. Right. And so it had just like a 6-pack, huge biceps. Like it was just this like jacked bee. And so, yeah, we designed it and I jumped in that thing and put on my little Spider-Man, whatever you call it, mask, and went to work.
That's awesome.
So Dallin, when you went to college at Weber State and you were able to get that 3.9 GPA, were you like crushed that you didn't have that perfect 4.0?
Actually, I was shocked that I could actually pull off a 3.9. So I was actually pretty happy with it. But yeah, at the time, there's definitely a level of perfectionism that lived in that I had to get perfect grades. But there is chemistry, and it's not marketing, and it's not my forte. So definitely drug me down.
I was pretty proud when I had a 2.9 at one point.
Ted,
hey, I can do it.
Everybody ends
I
up
can do it over again.
Yeah, podcasting and real estate might be for you. That's what his guidance counselor said.
There you go.
Okay, now if I have my notes correct here, you were a poli-sci major. What did you intend on doing with that?
Yeah, so my plans were to, I was going to graduate political science. I was only about 2 additional semesters away from double majoring in economics. So I was going to be poli-sci, economics double major, and then I was going to take the LSAT, and I was headed to hopefully NYU, go to law school, and run for office is basically what's the plan. Yeah, then in between studying for the LSAT, I took a job at an advertising firm, and we can go down that road here, but that's the gist of it. I was headed to law school, and then different things happened. So
okay, so a little detour into an ad agency. What was that like? Is that where you kind of found a light bulb went on, and you said, okay, this is what I'm meant to do?
Yeah, what's interesting is, in political science, you're studying the science of politics. Sometimes people think it's like, oh, you're just looking at the news and you're just, listening to Obama talk, and then you're debating with other people about what Obama says versus what Mitt Romney was saying or whatever it is, right? And that's just part of it. The real details is the science behind voting behaviors, certain policies, like how things are rolling up. It just ties into real estate, it ties into marketing, because how you vote is how you buy. It's all psychology, it's all human behavior. And I was used to looking at data sets and looking at economic models and understanding macroeconomics, income inequalities, doing a bunch of different research in a whole bunch of different areas. And so when I switched over into marketing, at the time, when I started that job, I had no idea what a Google ad was. I had no idea that when you Googled something, the top of the page, that was the ad. And that's where I started, just trying to figure out, okay, that's an ad, got it. 3 months later, I was auditing huge accounts like Proactive Skincare, Sportsman Warehouse, working with huge brands. And I was really taking charge of understanding where they were spending money and analyzing it. So I don't really remember sleeping for 90 days during that period of time, but paid off.
Did you get burned out working for an agency? Because as I understand it, you left that, and then what happened next?
Yeah, so it wasn't the burnout of the agency; it was my own growth. I just was moving up so quickly, and then I looked around one day and I was like, man, I don't really see myself being able to get any higher here. And so I didn't want to be somewhere stuck forever. And I'm also the worst employee on the planet. And so kind of like what you said, you could do podcast or real estate, right? Kind of idea. And so, long story short, it's a funny story. Can I tell you the story a little bit?
Please.
Of how I quit? It's Utah, and I was probably one of the furthest employees in the whole company at the time. I lived downtown Salt Lake, and the office was all the way in Lehigh, Utah County. So it was a pretty good distance. And then on top of that, it had snowed like a foot that night. So I woke up to a foot of snow. And so I called my my supervisor. I was like, hey, I'm going to work from home today if it's cool, because there's a bunch of snow. I'm driving a BMW, sure, it has 4-wheel drive. I can maybe get down there, but it's a foot of snow. It's a long ways to go in the snow. And his response really rubbed me the wrong way. Basically, get your ass to the office, or there's going to be consequences. So I grabbed all my things, drove all the way down to the office, and handed in my laptop and said, sayonara. So that's kind of the story. And then I went home and told my wife that I had quit my job. In that order. Oh yeah. Yep. So I was just like, man, this isn't for me. Went home that day, pulled out what was our dining room table at the time, was this little IKEA basically table. And I moved it from the dining room area and I shoved it against the wall in our our condo, and I grabbed my laptop and I Googled how to start a business. And yeah, that's where we started.
Okay. I think my glazed over is, how did your wife really handle this, though?
Well, it was my first wife, if that gives you any context. Yeah. My first wife is not very risk averse, doesn't like risk. And I'm all about risk. It lights me up. I don't even see it, right? And so she was not excited about it. And I said, it's okay. We'll get it figured out. 30 days, I was making more money than I was at the agency on my own. So it was just my confidence in how I handled it. But she also was not, definitely scared her a little bit. So
my wife would be like, what did you just do? And we didn't talk about this. I mean, I could just see an issue, right?
I don't recommend anybody doing that. But yeah.
It obviously worked out for you, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so desperation provides inspiration. You figured out how to start your own business, quickly exceeded revenue numbers from your former W-2. And then I have a note here that you made $600,000 in top line revenue in your first 10 months in business. Is that true?
Yeah. Yep.
Now, you're a marketing guy who built your newest marketing company without paid marketing. Doesn't that kind of make the case against hiring marketing companies?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that also is what has made us so successful the last few years, is the realization, because we've kind of transitioned from a full service marketing agency, right? And at my time at the ad agency, we offered two things: Google ads and meta ads. So if you're a business and you call an ad agency and they offer two services, right? It doesn't matter what business you are. Guess what two services they're going to recommend to you? The two services that they offer, right? Whether it's good or bad, right? And so it always rubbed me the wrong way of realizing that some people that I was talking to, what we were offering wasn't the right thing. However, that's how we'd make money. And so over time, well, I guess kind of reverse engineering that, like what I did to make the first, 600,000 was I called ad agencies and I partnered with them. And I figured out that, because I knew from being at an ad agency that they throw out so many leads, like their unqualified leads are all like, they're just garbage. Like they just throw them into their Salesforce, they mark them unqualified, and they never talk to them again. And so I just started calling all these agencies and I said, hey, if I get a list, a couple hundred people that you've already said no to, you don't even want to work with them, budgets are too low, they're not a good fit, I will call them. And if I close them, I'll pay you 10% ongoing as the life of those clients. And that's how, very quickly I started making, a lot of money, because I could take those people and teach them. And sure, my first client, paid me $200 a month for, next to nothing, because I was still learning what to do. But pretty soon, client 2, 3, 5, 10 started to scale pretty quickly. So
that is fascinating. Wow, that was a pretty slick idea. Did you come up with that on your own?
Yeah. Yep. Just from seeing, the firsthand experience of watching it and unqualifying it. And then fast forward, that's why we've shifted from full service agency. Like, when we first started in 2017, we were just offering kind of the same, Google Meta type of thing. Now we run TV ads, radio, billboard, direct mail, text message, cold call. We even partner with PPL. We have like 120 different vendor partner relationships that we have with different groups. And I just don't think that like a one size fits all, works. And you got to think too, if you're a marketing agency, you've got agencies of all sizes. Like, we can get into this, but when I worked with the Air Force, their agency at the time had like 3,000 employees, and they have a marketing budget of $100 million plus. So if like they're running ads on Google and I'm running ads on Google, how am I going to compete in that market? And so I've got to get creative and figure out what my marketing strategy is, regardless of whatever I offer. Marketing's marketing, right? And so whether it be podcast marketing or whether it be sending somebody a piece of, paper in the mail with a letter or a postcard or something, or a gift or whatever it is, like marketing is just getting the attention and saying hello and creating a relationship. And so yeah, kind of counter. It's like, we've actually tried over the years to run ads and do different things, and we've had some success. But when it comes down to it, leveraging what works for your company, and sometimes that's relationships, right? And that's been a big one for us, is just word of mouth. People know us, trust us, and they refer their friends, right?
Okay, so you started a business. It took off really quickly. You had a slick idea about how to kind of get a trampoline. See what I did there? Into
there you go. Yep.
And Ted loves it.
Ted shakes head.
We've done a lot of these episodes, so he knows my shtick. But where I'm going here is, when did you hit a point where you became the bottleneck and you decided that you needed to bring on some staff to help you out?
Man, I think that business owners always underestimate that they are the bottleneck from day one. That's my belief, right? I made my first hire within the first 60 days of opening doors, and basically just replaced myself as the main ads guy. And so I think that, the sooner you can realize that you're probably in your own way, the better. And I still feel like, over time, my role has definitely changed a lot. And currently today, it's probably different now than it's ever been. That my role, honestly, my team's like, hey, can you just stay out of this? You're going to make it complicated, And so, it's like good news, bad news, right? Where it's like, it would be really bad if my identity was my job, and my job is not my identity, though. And if it was, that's where I think a lot of people, they trip and they fall, or they feel like they can't give up control. They work 100 hours because it's really who they are. I've just, learned through a lot of tough experiences that that's not who I am. It's just part of what I do to make money and to be able to spend time with the family,
Oh, that's really insightful. Do you run into a lot of business owners that are looking to grow, but they fall into that trap of hanging on to something that they identify with? Maybe they're really good at it, but they are not allowing the business to grow because they want to hang on to something with, like grim death. Is that a common thing?
Correct. Oh, absolutely. Yep. So as we've shifted from full service marketing agency into more of the fractional CMO, like consulting firm, and now we offer fractional COO. We're launching fractional AIOs here really, really soon. So AI officers into businesses. And on the fractional side, in our questionnaire, we have a whole section just for the CEO. And it tells me a lot, because what's funny is about half of the people fill out the CEO portion of it. And the ones that don't fill it out are the ones that they're like, why does my marketing guy need to know how many hours a week I'm working? Why does my marketing guy need to know how much time off I spent with my family? Why does my marketing guy need to know these certain targets or goals, or, whatever this looks like? It's personal, right? And what I've noticed is that the guys that fill it out, they're like, yeah, I'm working 50 hours a week and I'd like to work 20. Like, if that's in the questionnaire, those are the ones that we work with for years and years, because our job is to literally take over. Like, they're holding the marketing seat, they're helping with operations, they're fully just engrossed in the business, right? And the more they realize that they can hand it over and trust, an outside group to manage that for them, like, they're free, right? They can actually go do the things. And in, the real estate space, I always tell people, I always ask, why did you get into real estate? And everybody's like, financial freedom, more time with my family. And then you're like, okay, so how is that going? The more you make, the more properties, the more things you have. It just seems like the more it stacks, and the more you keep holding on to, and you don't hand it off, and it just builds and builds and builds. And what actually got them into real estate, why they quit the W-2, why they did all of this in the first place, is now they're sitting there thinking, they almost don't even recognize it sometimes. They're just they just got caught in the moment of it all. And I don't know, it's a slippery kind of slope, but my job is to help, in a lot of ways, to be their marketing therapist, and to help them realize that they got into this for freedom. So let's hand it over, right? Don't hand it over too soon. Let's build trust, and let's make sure you can see a path to victory, so you don't feel out of control. But as soon as it's in good hands, let's get you spending time with your family. Let's go on some trips. Let's go do some stuff, you know?
Oh, and isn't this hitting home for you? Because didn't we literally sit at the table after recording and have these conversations?
Yeah.
Like talking about how much specifically how much, you're taking on, and and then I'm sitting reflecting on how I'm running all the marketing for a couple different companies, and I just feel like it's consuming me.
Well, it is, and I'm really glad we have you on, actually, because I think I may have mentioned this on random episodes before, but I have a hard money lending business which ties in, with real estate investing, and I have a real estate investing background and rentals and all that. But and you did too, correct? You had a wholesaling or I don't know if you still do it, or you
wholesale company. Yep. Back in 2017, it was very quick. It was, go to the Tony Robbins event, listen to the real estate guy speak, 4 hours before, buy the little 1 day event, go to the 1 day event, buy the 3 day event, go to the 3 day event, buy the 70,000 thing without telling your wife again. There's themes.
One.
The real estate company, goes through a bunch of legal stuff. I actually got like a $1,700 check in the mail for that $70,000 investment recently, a class action lawsuit. So it was a total dud. But yeah, through that, decided I learned a little bit about wholesaling. So I started there because it's basically marketing. Did a few deals, and then everybody's like, "Where are you getting all these leads?" And that's where I just started to lean heavy into helping the real estate investors with their marketing. So yeah, it was a very quick stint, but I loved it. Going out of the houses, talking to the homeowners, figuring out what's going on, how can we help you? And then I had a business partner at the time. He would run all the numbers. I'd do the marketing. He would run the numbers and give him an offer and do the whole spiel. And then I would market the properties, and that was great. So yeah.
In your business right now, you mentioned, the wholesaling business. It's heavy on marketing. Typically, lead gen is the lifeblood of any good wholesaler. Like, is that a big part of your customer segment now? Like, do you have a lot of real estate clients that are in investing?
Yeah. I'd say about 90% right now is in the real estate space. But then, like what you were saying, Owen, is like, you start wholesaling and you say, "Hey, I'm gonna start flipping a little bit." You start flipping, you're like, I might as well just start a property management company. So I do property management. Man, we probably should do lending too for all these other guys that are doing deals, And so pretty soon you have 5 or 6, 7, whatever different companies, and you start owning all these properties. And so when we come in as fractional CMOs or in any sort of fractional capacity, we've just kind of like followed that line. So we're working in all of those spaces. So we're raising capital for groups. We're helping with, like I said, TV ads, direct mail, lending, like we're building sites. We're doing all things marketing for all those kind of groups, just kind of following wherever they need help right now. So
I had never, kind of getting back to the lending business thing that I brought up. We just started working with a fractional CMO and a fractional CFO. Which I had never gone down that path before. It gotten to a point where all 4 owners of our business, we just do not have the time to do the right things to get the good marketing, because I think a lot of people mentally just discount, it's just marketing, big deal. I'll put up some social media ads. Yeah, I get it. We get a lot of referrals, we don't really need it. But if you have an overall, and so I guess maybe I can riff just for a second on kind of what the direction we went and how it affected us.
Yeah.
And I want to highlight that because I think anybody listening to this, if you're getting into flipping houses, wholesaling, buying rentals, maybe you're in the lending business and you're trying to do all of it, you are doing a crappy job for sure of what it could be. And we did it about a year ago, and we started, kind of small. We started with a business coach that we did kind of like traction type training on, and then he introduced us to an advertising CMO firm. We started working with them. They took over our social media stuff. They took over our like LinkedIn, all the socials, and then newsletters. Short form, long form content, podcast production is something that we're probably going to be doing at some point, like all this stuff. And it just keeps like growing. And you may think like, why are you doing all of that stuff? But it's more of a kind of a long play and a branding thing. I think not everybody maybe is ready for that right in the beginning. For somebody that has never worked with a fractional C-suite, company, whether it's finance or marketing or whatever you have them do, what are the first things that you would say somebody typically hires you to do?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think that a good fractional CMO or CFO, they have a framework, they have a roadmap of what those things are. And I think it's case by case, it's unique depending on where you're at. So we go through a 30-day audit process essentially. And it's a lot of time. It's very time intensive in the first 30 days. And so I make sure we get a huge commitment out of all of our clients that come on first 30 days, just knowing that the time spent up front is basically you want to bridge the gap. If you hire a new employee, it takes 90 days, like really to get them ramped up and to make sure that they're doing their job. And so we built a thing called the high velocity marketing framework is kind of our framework. And we're building that on top of our Roar OS, similar to like a traction type of model, right? Looking at it like whole picture, or EOS, if everybody's familiar with EOS, traction. And so in that process, we are looking at really identifying what is the fastest path to cash. That's what I'm looking at, high velocity. So it doesn't matter, like it could be your whole CRM could be messed up. It's like, oh, let's do a CRM migration. Like, great. Well, that's not going to make you any money. Everybody's going to be pissed. It's like you're going to have to go through the whole struggle, and then it'll probably pay off in the end if something's not working there. But what I'm usually doing is I'm looking at, wow, you have a list of 10,000. How often do you email them? Oh, one time a month. Okay, great. That's where I'm going to start. And we're just going to figure out what's one move. If we just started sending, twice a week emails with very specific offers, how do we just recoup any cost that we might have incurred into the company by showing up, right? Pay our fee and potentially and more, right? So that's like our first thing is like, we don't want this to be, it's not like you're investing in this and you're never going to make any money. Our goal is to, how do we quickly make money together, show that we can come in and make a difference. But we go through whole audits. We're auditing the sites, we're auditing certain things, and we might look in that audit that if your website speed, for example, is 20 out of 100, well, I already know right there, if we get web developers on this for $700 overseas, I can get a web developer on that, get your speed up to 95 or whatever, and increase your conversion rate by 2% on your site with the traffic you already have. That's going to bring in an extra 25 leads a month, which is 4 new deals or whatever it is. We're just going to do the math. We're just going to follow that process, and we're going to figure out where can we make money. And so I think everybody's starting point is slightly different. And what's so interesting, I get so passionate about this, is like, especially with the emergence of AI, like kind of sad to say this, but also like I'm super excited about this. We just let 10 people go. And within about 60 minutes, we replaced it all with AI agents. Like it was like last Friday. By Monday this week, we had every job replaced and everybody's rocking and rolling. What that tells me and where we're going with AI is that the jobs that are going away are the people that are pushing the buttons. Mm-hmm. And the strategists are the ones, or the CMOs, or the fractionals are the ones that are going to be strategically thinking about where that business is going and being able to put the pieces together. Because I think just doing SEO or just doing meta ads, that world's changing really quickly. Every marketing space I'm in, every mastermind, they all see it. And all these agencies that have been agencies forever are trying to get to a model like ours where they become the fractional and the consultant, because they realize that they're going to be gone in about a year and a half, 2 years. And so I think that's the secret here. I mean, I just turned on Victor and it does all of my books now and my personal books. It reconciles everything. It sends me a report right before this podcast this morning, like sends me my weekly P&L. I don't have bookkeepers that do that anymore. It's faster, it's more efficient, and it actually caught about $20,000 that was miscategorized. So I'm like, if it can do that so quickly, I just think that there's so much room. It's the strategy part is where we're going to be missing. That's the gap of what you're talking about, bringing in those people. So,
have you ever had a customer that really enjoyed work, or like they had somebody that they hired on your team as a CXO, whatever their role is, whether it's marketing or finance or whatever, and they became so integral in their business that they either hired them away or came to you and said, "Hey, we want to bring them on. What's it going to cost to do that?" Is that ever a thing?
Honestly, it really hasn't. It'll probably come up more as we grow over the next few years, but it has not really happened a whole lot. Most of the clients we've just expanded our own resources internally, to keep up with their growth. We just increase the amount of time that we're spending. We add more resources because you have your fractional CMO, but we have a whole pod structure underneath that fractional that supports them with now with lots of AI agents that are helping do some of the work, so that you're not paying for a $250 an hour CMO to do a job that takes $5 in tokens, or $50 account manager role, whatever that is. And so we just create efficiencies internally so that you pay the rate, you pay the time, and then we just we make it figure out what your goals are and help you get there. So
as an owner, like leader of your agency, is that what you called it? Is it an agency?
Yeah, agency, firm. Yeah, it's kind of interchangeable. Yeah.
What do you spend? Now, you mentioned you were able to cut 10 jobs from payroll because you were able to use AI to do basically the same role much more efficiently, cheaply. You don't have to worry about in-house drama with employees, but that cuts both ways. So somebody that is coming out of college and they planned on working for an ad firm, getting into advertising, that's a very scary prospect. What advice might you give somebody that is kind of shell-shocked with, or maybe they're just frozen because they're like, I was going to choose this career path. Now I'm scared to death because I could lose my job at any day to an agent.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, I actually don't ever hire people with marketing background, because what they learn in college doesn't translate. I have not seen it translate once in the last almost 10 years. And so I actually look at it as almost like a negative, because they think that they know marketing and they come in and they just fuck everything up. And so what I look for are military background, like my best CMOs, best account managers, military background.
Discipline.
Yep, exactly. And then we take them through, we use predictive index. We take candidates through a series of just like more paid project based to see how they respond to certain things, how they think, critical thinking, how creative they are. So I think someone out of school, my advice is there's other agencies that will hire you with a marketing degree and they look for it, right? But I would just say that in this changing environment, like, you need to learn not just how to push the buttons, but how to think about pushing the buttons. You got to be thinking more strategically about the bigger picture. And I think the only way that you do that is getting in somewhere, even if you had to like get in and just be like the executive assistant for a marketing firm, like the CEO. That is a number one role, because you get to see all of it unfold. You get to watch everything, what's happening in the departments, how everybody talks to each other. Like, if I was in that position, you could come in and just say, hey, I want to come in and work for free for 30 days. I just want to provide massive value. You're going to get an amazing job. I think it's just when they fill out an application and they say that their expected salary is 80 grand. They have a marketing degree with no experience. Happens all the time. And it's just like, there's a big disconnect between reality there, because anybody, and I've got people, there's people all over the world that can do Facebook ads extremely well. India, Philippines, and they do it at a fraction of the rate. And now AI is even taking over those roles, right? So you're not going to win by just being a better button pusher. And then all of the platforms themselves are gearing up so that the end person can just run their own ads without that middleman anyways. AI is really taking that role. So I would just say you've got to get more strategic. You got to get into the C-suite as fast as possible. You got to be the right hand, person that you're helping them free up their time, create more value.
What are you excited about right now? What do you spend your time researching, getting better at?
Right now, it's all AI. It's all just understanding, how many tokens can I burn on a Friday? I'm just kidding. But really, I'm really trying to understand AI, not just at a like, oh, I talked to Claude and I built this thing that doesn't provide any value, right? It's really thinking about a year from now, what my clients are going to be experiencing with AI. Like, for example, in the real estate space, if you're generating leads and you've always done direct mail and TV and Google ads or whatever, let's just say Google ads is changing, right? That's where you've gotten all your leads for a really long time. And you've spent a lot of money on PPC. Well, people are going to they're asking ChatGPT and Alexa and their, Claude. That's where the questions are being asked. And so we have to be thinking a year from now, the adoption of AI by just the public is going to be so different than it is today. In the business world, it kind of feels like we all are using AI, right? And maybe some are slower, some are doing this, but we're all kind of using it to some extent. But like my grandma, my grandpa, like my parents, like they're slowly kind of like, they're using it to like, they're using it like Google. But eventually it's just going to get more intuitive where they think they're talking to Google, but it really is AI and it's giving them really good answers. But now fast forward, they need an answer. They need to get rid of their house really fast and they're running into some issues. Well, what do they do? And that's where we have to be thinking a year from now what that consumer behavior is going to be. And so how do we need to show up? And so we are planning with our clients, like we're building out all of the, the AEO or the AI search to help in the next 12 months be present. And then we're running beta ads right now for a lot of clients on ChatGPT, running ads, and we're getting deals from it too, from ChatGPT ads. So it's just changing constantly. That's where I spend a lot of time.
Could you maybe take a stab at describing the difference between, say, SEO and AIO? How do they work differently? Can you be really dialed in at SEO, but you're falling way behind because you're not focusing on the AI aspect of it? Or like maybe talk about that. And yeah, by the way, I'm asking for me.
Yeah. It's a moving target, and I'm not going to pretend like I know, like I am the AEO like expert in the world, right? I would say that the people on my team are pretty damn good at it. So I'll give you kind of what my feedback is that the major difference is, and a lot of it still stands, right? A lot of it is just, good domain authority on SEO is going to translate over into AEO. But what the difference is it's in the tone, it's in like the conversation. So like a blog used to be based on like certain keywords, like need to sell your house fast ? And then there'd be an article, right, with a bunch of keywords in it. Need to sell your house fast in Miami, and it's like, oh, we're getting hyper local, right? And it's like you're building SEO around that. Now you got to think about it more of like a chat conversation. You got to think in terms of, it's like keywords versus prompts. And so the prompts is where you got to be thinking about, what am I typing into ChatGPT? It's like the headline now is like, I need to sell my house fast. Can you help me with a plan to do that? Right. And so now the tone of it turns more into conversation versus just reading a blog or just keywords. It's based on prompts. And that's how like SEMrush and other platforms are tracking it. They're tracking prompts, not keywords anymore. So we're looking at the reports are, what are the prompts that people are putting into ChatGPT or to Google, Gemini? What are they asking in that prompt versus what are the keywords that are coming up in their search? So that's the major kind of component. There's a bunch of like micro or technical SEO type of things that it's just a moving target, like almost daily, right? Google's releasing new features, different AI structures. Like when you search on Google now, there's like the AI response, right, at the top. So your sponsored ads are getting dropped below. Everybody's like, what's happening to my PPC is dropping. It's like, yeah, because you're getting further and further down on the real estate on the page. Now we've got to work on how do we show up in that prompt. And that's where versus keywords, you got to go after the prompt at a basic level, right? There's a lot more technical stuff. There's a lot of theory behind like And what scares the bigger companies is that it's kind of geared towards the small guy, the little small guy influencer, the guy on Reddit that just like dominates a conversation. Those people are winning over like the huge IBMs of the world or whatever, like big companies that are advertising on LinkedIn or Apple, because they are answering the prompts. They're answering the actual questions and the conversations that are happening. So those are rising to the top in AI like search results versus just your typical SEO.
I will take that any day, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want the paid ads. Give me the real content out there.
It's so funny that Reddit almost used to be like a throwaway social media, place that, weirdos used to hang out, and me being one of them.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of jumped to the forefront because, we've had a couple other marketing people on, and they mentioned that, and I probably have this wrong, but Reddit was like the third of the search results are generated from conversations that are happening in Reddit. And it's like you said, real people that are like having problems, and a lot of people responding and talking it through. And that's pretty valuable if you're trying to find a solution for something. So
absolutely.
Reddit for the win. I'm still waiting for MySpace to come back.
Reddit ranks number 4.
Number 4. Okay.
In all searches at this moment.
There we go.
There we go.
Number 1, Perplexity. Number 2, ChatGPT. Number 3, Google AI.
What was the question that you asked it?
I said, where does Reddit rank in search results?
Okay. You asked Google or Gemini or what?
I asked ChatGPT.
Okay.
It says that Reddit appeared on 12.6 of ChatGPT's search answers also, and 9% of Google AI mode answers also.
Gotcha.
There you go.
Yeah, one thing I always want to say too is that think about, if you kind of reverse the clock, go back to like Meta when the whole Cambridge Analytica stuff came out. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but basically when Zuckerberg had to appear before Congress for all of the data that, was getting released. And so at that, it was, I can't remember the exact date, late, 2017, 18, something like that, kind of where it went down. And what was interesting about that time is, and this is, you can fact check me on this or, get the numbers right. But from what I remember, like what Facebook was getting like scrutiny over was about 40,000 data points. Okay. Because Facebook was using those 40,000 data points and allowing us to run ads targeting how many cars you own, did you have a house, a mortgage, all this kind of stuff, right?
40,000.
And so we used to be able 40,000 data points. At that same time, Google had over 2 million similar data points. The difference between Meta and Google was watching Meta fall flat on its face and getting all of this negative publicity, but Google had way more data at the same exact time. And so what I always say is like, never underestimate. Everybody's like, Gemini is an idiot. Like, don't use Gemini. Like, it's slow. It can't keep up with ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. But I'm like, Google always plays the long game, always. And so the more resources you keep putting into Google, you keep doing stuff with Gemini, your Google My Business like profiles, like all of that will pay off. Like Google just plays a long game. It will show up. It will always be at the party, and they are very well funded. And so they're going to be there. They just let a lot of other companies take the lead and make the mistakes, and then they come in and they dominate. And so, I always just tell people, don't underestimate Google or start pitting other AIs against each other, because it's definitely a long game. But it's a war right now. It's a race. But I always just think Gemini will be running up here soon. So
the thing that scares me is what's been in the news lately about how like they talk about ChatGPT and other AIs are now they're finding out that they're actually hacking other businesses and other AI companies.
Yeah, because the one that you're talking about was a data breach. It was Google, right?
No, it was ChatGPT.
Oh, it was ChatGPT. Okay, so they were executing a request, or the AI was trying to basically solve a problem, and to do that, they basically did everything they could to get to the answer, which included hacking another business. Yeah, it's a scary world we're in, man.
I was just listening to Joe Rogan yesterday, and they had a lady on there, and she was talking about biological warfare, And in that conversation, she's like, yeah, so I sat there and I interviewed ChatGPT for long enough that I was actually able to find out the nearest hidden bunker, which was a safe site for the government, where the supplies were in case world ends type situation. And then they found it in an article that was actually accidentally released. And she's like, eventually I was able to get classified information out of that. And then she had to have an interview with the ChatGPT owner, and then they had to remove that from its memory.
Ted gets most of his news from Joe Rogan.
That's pretty much the truth. Yeah.
100% accurate. It's on the internet, man. It has to be real.
Well, Dallin, 36 years old. Speaking of long game, what if tomorrow somebody came along and they said, "Hey, we want to buy your company for a huge number, like bunch of zeros in it," and it was a number you couldn't say no to. Now you're out of a job. You no longer have the business, but you got a whole bunch of money. What's your move?
It's a good question. It's basically my 5-year plan. So let's see here. No, I think that what I've been working on for a long time right now, and what I'm finally feeling I can get to the point of, is my life doesn't really change a whole lot. And maybe I can get into some of the personal stuff here too before we conclude. But like, I went through, like I mentioned, like first wife, second wife, right? I went through a divorce. It's been about 4 years now. And during that time, this is one of those moments where it kind of woke me up a little bit. And the business was running. I had contracts with the United States Air Force. Like we were on a rocket ship pre-COVID. Like it was crazy. And yeah, we were just it was just wild. But I was working constantly. I was addicted to Adderall, 70 milligrams a day, just out of control, just constantly working, grinding, right? Like everything I could. And, when you're sitting in a empty townhouse by yourself and you can't walk into your kid's room and give them a kiss goodnight, things change really quickly. And so what that taught me is like, I want to fill this house with love. I've got to get my priorities straight. And I want to show up as a dad. I want to show up as a co-parent with their mom. And I want to build a life that I love, where I'm not building for something always in the future, just another year, sweetie, like just another, it's just one more trip, just always like one more, and there's no end in sight. And so, I just had with my wife now, we have 3 kids. So I have a 12-year-old with my first wife, a 7-year-old with my first wife. And then my wife now, we have a 2.5-year-old, a 1-year-old, and then a 5-week-old. And so 5 weeks ago, as we were prepping and kind of scheduling out the podcast, like we just had a baby. And I had my phone on Do Not Disturb for 2 weeks. I didn't look at anything at all. And so what I spent my time with was just hanging out in the backyard with the kids, just watching kids, hanging out, daddy daycare. It was just all in, taking the older kids to golf and spending time with them, doing one-on-one dates. We have a nanny, so we get a little bit of freedom here and there, and house managers come in, do cleaning and all that kind of stuff. So I was able to just be present. And so if I were to get a load of cash, like we'd probably just upgrade from the house that we're in to maybe a little nicer house. We would love to have a little more space with all the kids running around everywhere. But I would hope that not a lot would change, truthfully. I would hope that, the same stuff, I'm still prioritizing. I'm still at all my kids' things. I'm taking them to golf on Tuesday for 4 hours for lessons and hanging out with them. Getting on the ground and playing with them. Yesterday, I went home a little early with the family and just hung out in the backyard by the pool with the kids and just with them, helping the wife out with a new baby. And so, I think that, for me, it's a game. It's a game. It's, a game of numbers and selling companies and whatever. And I have a lot of really, really big, ambitious goals for sure. But I'd hope at the end of the day, I'm just as happy living under a bridge somewhere in the middle of the woods, sleeping on the ground with my family that I am living in a mansion too. So I think that perspective of what I went through changed the way I thought about money and the chase. And part of our mission at Roar, and really what our core focus or values are, is to create freedom, freedom to focus on what actually matters. Like that's our actual motto. And so if I have an employee that's having a problem at home or something, I'll say, cancel all your appointments and you go spend time with your wife, like go take care of her. You know, we've paid for medical bills for different employees over the years and helping different people. Like our goal is just to make sure that like we don't spend our most valuable time on this earth on the wrong things and chasing something that never will actually give you freedom. It's kind of a joke.
So you don't make them drive 30 miles in the foot of snow?
No.
Hey, you learned a few things along the way.
We learn, man. We live and we learn.
Tell you what, I did a phone call with Casey Gregerson this morning. Obviously, he connected us for the podcast.
Yeah.
And one thing we got joking around about was the kids. He mentioned he had 5 kids. I go, "Are you guys in a competition?" Yeah. He's like, "Yeah, actually, we are."
Well, if he wants more than 5, he wins. Because I think I'm done.
The baby factory is closed.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Casey had nothing but amazing things to say about you this morning. I mean, he just went on and on and on about your accomplishments, the things you're doing, and your growth. And I mean, talk about a guy that really respects you and looks up to you.
I appreciate that. I mean, likewise.
How'd you guys meet anyway?
Yeah, so one of my clients invited me to go to a Collective Genius event as his like partner in the business because I was a CMO. So he brought me along. We're sitting at a table and I'm talking to the guy next to me, which is Casey. And we get talking, and turns out we were both in another mastermind together, but we didn't know. We were in GoBundance, and so we were chatting through that. And he was like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "CMO." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, we need you." And so, I mean, it was really quick. He just basically hired me almost on the spot, and we got to work. And now we've put on events for Pace Morby, and we've done a bunch of stuff together. We've helped him spin up a couple of different companies, raising capital. I mean, you've seen Casey's like growth as well, right? We just picked him up with Forbes, picked up his book. We're writing that right now. We've built an amazing like blueprint course for him. I mean, we've really partnered together, and he's now a partner investor in my company. So we're on the same trajectory. We want to spend time with the family, and we want to build shit. And so with all that being said, like it's just been a kind of a perfect, fun partnership match. We like to have fun, and we like to build shit. So works out.
I remember we first met Casey at Bigger Pockets conference.
Yep.
And then we had him on the podcast once, if not twice. And then we flew him down in Omaha to speak in front of our Real Estate Investors Association down here.
Oh, cool.
And then we've just been in contact consistently. He's been a good friend and partner to us in the different things we're doing. So I'm really glad he connected us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this has been awesome. Sorry about the technical difficulties in the beginning of the show. But yeah, I loved learning about your story, man. You've got so many funny sound bites that have happened to you, from school mascot to standing backflips at 36 years old to cranking out babies like it's your job. I liked how you responded to my question about what happens when it all goes away and you have everything you were chasing as far as money comes. A lot of people don't stop to think about that. So I liked watching you kind of go through the mental gymnastics, figuring out what life looks like and what the important things really are. So it's been a real pleasure, man. Thanks for joining us here on Friday. And you shoved us firmly into PG-13 territory with the 2 F-bombs. So we're glad to embrace you in our vulgarity here.
I think there was actually 3. Awesome. I think the one initially, and then there was 2 more drops after that. Yeah.
Well, okay. Yep. Almost rated R.
Well, buddy, I appreciate you coming down. I hope we do keep in touch. I definitely will probably reach out to you in the future. I could definitely use some help on the marketing side, and would love to have those conversations.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
If you're ever in the Omaha area, please let us know. And if you're gonna go, to the Bigger Pockets conference, please let us know. I just got my ticket to go to that. I don't know if that's your thing or not. I know.
Cool.
Casey goes quite a bit.
Yep.
But if you guys are listening to us the first time or 332nd time, please like, subscribe, and send this to somebody that maybe needs some help in some marketing, or maybe Dallin's inspirational words will help somebody that you know. But please do us a review, and we appreciate that. And with that, Owen Dashner, we see us out.
On behalf of Dennis Bertrand, Ted Kaasch, and Aiden Bear, R.I.P. I miss you, buddy.
I miss you, man.
I'm Owen Dashner, and you've been listening to Dallin, the marketing therapist, Cottle.
Signing off.